Hi everyone, happy Wickedly Fun Wednesday. We are on chapter 8 of Alexis Snipperdoom, so let's get going. So, returning. Armbruster looked at Yarlin, horrified. What had he done? Could it be undone? Yarlin, you must explain. He looked down at the ghostly appearance of his wife. She floated above the ground, hair waving gently side to side, her entire being an icy blue-gray color, looking like a beautiful ghost. Her eyes were closed and her hands dangling limp by her side. Sir, I did what had to be done. We had to stop her. You are now back in control. It was what you wanted, no? Asked Yarlin nervously. He thought Armbruster would say something like, Great job, my friend, or finally. Instead, he seemed very upset. What would he say? What should he do? Yarlin looked shocked. Have you lost your mind? Of course I'm upset. Look at that! As he pointed to Alexis, or what used to be Alexis. You better tell me you can reverse this. I'm not happy with her right now. But this is out of control. Do you hear me? Armbruster, Your Majesty, I am so sorry. I was under the impression you wanted this. I really thought you wanted her out of the way, and this was the only way to do it. She is, or was, so strong. It would have been difficult to control her otherwise. I searched through all the books, and this was the best solution for our situation. Are you avoiding the point? Is it reversible? Armbruster looked directly at Yarlin, angrier than he'd been in a long time. Nervously, Yarlin looked away and started marching around the room in a circle. He refused to look at Armbruster or Alexis. He was not sure what to say or do. He had not really thought about it as being a reversible spell. He assumed it would be permanent. It had been his first thought was to get rid of Alexis and to help Armbruster regain his control and to put him back in charge. It seemed like the most logical way to accomplish that. He spun around and walked towards Armbruster. Sir, I really do not know. That is my answer. I'm not sure if we can reverse her condition. I assumed this was the best interest of our clan and the new order. I was going to do what I thought was best. I thought you'd be okay with it, especially since she attempted to betray you. You were so upset with her. You said you wanted to kill her, so I just assumed you wanted me to stop her, no matter how. This is exactly what I did. I did this for you. I am so very sorry you're upset and mad. I thought you would be pleased. Armbruster tried to remain calm. He shook his head, wrung his hands, and brushed his hands through his hair. He looked at Yarlin in disbelief. Had he heard him correctly? Had he just stated Alexis could be like this forever? Oh no, that was not going to happen. She was still his wife. He still loved her, and he wanted her back. He walked up to Yarlin. May I be frank? He asked with a scowl on his face. Oh, of course, Your Majesty. If you do not find a way to reverse the spell, I will do everything in my power to make you suffer the most awful death. Do you understand me? He screamed. Yarlin started shaking, almost in a convulsive way. His eyes began to roll in the back of his head, mouth foaming. He dropped to the ground, screaming out in pain, withering on the ground, unable to breathe. Armbruster stood over him, chanting, his voice slowly increasing, as did the pain for Yarlin. He allowed the pain to go on for a short while. Then he walked to his chair and sat down. From there, Armbruster watched as Yarlin picked himself off the floor and stood up, his legs visibly shaking. He used his scepter as a cane to stand. He slowly managed to make it to the door and turned around and looked at Armbruster. I will find a reversal, I promise. Leave her where she is. I will be back. He limped out the door slowly as he slithered down the hallway, feeling his legs shaking, almost feeling numb. Armbruster looked at Alexis floating above the floor, looking ghostly. He could not believe what happened to her. How did he make Yarlin believe that he really wanted this? He never wanted this. He never seriously wanted to hurt Alexis. He just wanted her to obey, to be a loving, caring wife and mother. He looked at her body, swaying slightly. She looked so peaceful and beautiful. She was a stunningly gorgeous witch. He continued to observe her from the seat, but felt compelled to walk to her side. Once standing over her, he looked down and gazed at her with feelings of love. As he was about to walk back to his chair, he felt a cold, sharp pain in his leg. He looked down to see her ghostly hand in his leg, producing a massive pain. She seemed awake, and her eyes were wide open. She looked crazy, wild, and mad. All of a sudden, he was scared. Alexis felt the pain for a small second, and then only felt her head become light. It was like a balloon, not at all like her body. She noticed her arms and legs became paralyzed, dangling like lifeless pieces of flesh. Her eyes would not open. She could hear voices in the background, presumably Yarlin and Armbruster. What had transpired? Had Yarlin killed her? Was she dead? Why could she not open her eyes? She heard Armbruster speaking in an irritated voice. Have you lost your mind? Of course I'm upset. Look at that. Was he talking about her? What did he mean? You better tell me you can reverse this. I'm not happy with her right now. But this is out of control. Do you hear me? Hello? I'm right here. Why is nobody listening to me? They are talking as if I'm not here. Her head hurt badly. She felt cold. She wished she could crawl into her warm bed and have a nice warm fire by the fireplace. Why was she so cold? Armbruster, Your Majesty, I'm so sorry. I was under the impression you wanted this. I really thought you wanted her out of the way, and this was the best way to do it. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever. Okay, so you thought you could get rid of me. I get it, Alexis thought. She listened to their conversation, still unable to move or open her eyes. Slowly, she felt her hand move a little bit more. Her feet began to wiggle, and her head moved. Maybe she was about to wake up and find out this was just all a bad dream. She could not imagine this being the end. No, this is not how she would go out permanently. No way. She heard Yarlin leave, and then there was silence in the room. She quickly whispered, "Come to me, my love," hoping Armbruster would hear her. It seemed like an eternity. Then suddenly, he was standing over her. She could feel his presence. She tried to move her arm and reached for his leg. She felt something. Suddenly, she felt him move. Alexis opened her eyes. He stared down at her face. She knew at that instant he was not standing over her to protect her. Rather, he was trying to figure out if this was the best way for her to spend the rest of her life. She was not going to let that happen. She would find a way to stop all of this and then focus on getting her daughter back. Ariana woke up very early. She spent most of the night trying to find some spells to beat Yarlin. She did not want Alexis upset with her again. There was no way she was going to let her down. Ariana could prove herself to Alexis and gain her trust back. She walked to the window and pulled back the heavy velvet curtains imported from Earth. She looked out, and it was still raining. She missed the sunshine. Alexis liked things gloomy. The dreary environment depressed Ariana. The rest of the clan liked the weather similar to Earth. Most of them had become accustomed to Earth's weather and the changing seasons. It was nice being able to see snow falling out of the sky, then experiencing the warmth of the sun. She missed Earth. At first, it had been great on Alstromia. Alexis had allowed the weather conditions to stay as they had been, similar to that of Earth. Once she made changes, many were displeased about the atmosphere and the weather. It was dreary and cold most of the time. Ariana walked to her wardrobe and picked out some clean clothes. She put on her dark purple robe. She felt most comfortable in it. She slipped on her matching slippers and picked up her book of spells. She waved her scepter over the bed and ensured it was made and tidy. She aimed the scepter at the fireplace to start a fire. It was cold in the chamber room. She left the room to head to the library to see if Alexis was researching spells. Yarlin was snoring in a large chair in the corner of the library. He had little drops of drool dripping down his chin. He'd been hurting and felt extremely exhausted when he fell asleep. He felt a pulling motion on his arm and then was startled. His eyes fluttered open. He tried to focus on the blurry face that appeared. Someone handed him his reading glasses. He gently placed them on his nose and looked up, smiling. "Oh, thank you, Ariana. I appreciate it. I guess I fell asleep." Yeah, you were snoring away. You must have been very tired. Why did you not go to your chamber? Are you okay?" "Oh, yes, I'm fine. Why do you ask?" "Well, it looks like you have black eyes. They are swollen. I'm just a little worried about you. Are you sure you're okay?" "I will be fine. No need to worry, child." "Okay, if you say so. What are you up to here? What are you doing? Anything special?" I was researching some reversal spells for a project. I've not been able to find what I'm looking for, but I do need to find it immediately. It's very important," explained Yarlin, attempting to remain vague. "What kind of reversal spell? Perhaps I could help you. Maybe I can be of assistance," she asked, very curious. No, nothing. No, don't worry about it." "Okay, well, if you change your mind, let me know." Oh, I will." He picked up his books and walked out of the library. The last thing he needed was Ariana asking questions. That would only complicate things. He would find Armbruster and tell him about his run-in with Ariana. Ariana sat in the chair and leaned back as she watched Yarlin walk out of the library. Very suspicious, she thought. Something was wrong, and he was acting very odd. What was going on? What kind of reversal spell, and why would he need to reverse anything? What had he done? She better find Alexis immediately and tell her about this. Eston walked up the concrete table in the massive visitation hall chamber. There was a lifeless body of his son, Kalan. The lower half of his body draped in purple and gold blanket, the death sheet as it was called. As he approached the table, he felt weak in his knees. He saw his son's face, almost unrecognizable. Deep lacerations and scratches on his face looked as though he had been dragged along the riverbank. His entire face was black blue and swelling was excessive. His eyes were forced shut by the swelling. His bottom lip split open. Eston saw one of his teeth was sticking out. It was a dreadful scene. He cried as he looked at his son. What a waste of life. How did this happen? Who had done this to his son, and why? He placed his head on his son's chest and wept. Eston was grateful Armbruster had his body cleaned up. He was also glad he'd not seen it before. This was bad enough. Deep in the chambers of the dungeon, Ariana hid 2 books she found in the library. She did not want Yarlin or anybody else to find them. They had been on the top shelf in the Elderwise section. It was in the section containing the oldest and best spells. The Black Book of Spells was falling apart, but most of the inside was still legible. She wanted to see if she could find something extraordinary, hoping to impress Alexis. Once the books were safely tucked away in the special hiding spot, she closed the door to the dungeon chamber and locked it. She put the golden key in the inside pocket of her robe. She ran up the long winding stairway leading to the main floor. At the top, she glanced around the corners, ensuring no one was around as she came up the stairs. She did not want anyone to see her appear from the dungeons, as it would most likely raise suspicion. She did not need that kind of aggravation. No one was around. She walked up the last step and turned the corner. She headed to the west wing, headed towards Alexis's chamber. She stood in front of the door and knocked. She waited, but there was no response. She knocked again. She attempted to turn the old oval knob. Nothing. It would not move. It appeared to be locked. She knocked again. "Go away! We're sleeping!" yelled Armbruster. Shocked, Ariana jumped back from the door in disbelief. Did he just say we are sleeping? Since when was he allowed in Alexis's chamber? It had been months. 9 or 10 months to be exact. Sir, I need to speak with the Queen." "I said go away. We are sleeping and we do not wish to be disturbed." Yes, Your Majesty. I'm so sorry." She walked away, wondering why Armbruster was in the chamber with Alexis, claiming to be sleeping. Armbruster rolled onto his back as he glanced at Alexis. She floated next to him on the bed, either sleeping or her eyes closed. He sighed. "Alexis, are you sleeping?" he asked. There was no response. He looked closely at her. "Alexis, please answer me," he begged. "Go away, Armbruster. You did this to me. Look at me." She spoke. He did not know if he should be happy or worried. Now, honey, it will be okay. I promise. Now, honey, seriously? This is far from okay, snarled Alexis. Armbruster smirked. He was actually finding this sort of funny. She seemed so harmless in this condition, and for the first time in months, this was a comfortable situation for him. So his smile widened. She noticed the smile and wanted to slap his face, but her hand passed right through his face. Annoyed, she tried again. This time, he felt a sharp pain radiate through his cheek. She smiled the moment she saw him wince. Theirs was truly a love-hate relationship. She started to laugh, as did he. The two laughed, then stopped abruptly when there was another knock on the door. Your Majesty, we must speak with you immediately. We have news. I will be right out, Powdo. Alexis, stay here. Do not answer the door. I'll be right back. Where would I go like this? She snidely remarked. He smiled. Yeah, I suppose you're right. I'll be right back. He got up and walked to the door. He closed the door on the way out and locked it from the outside. Alone in the room, Alexis looked up at the ceiling as she floated over the bed. She tried to move and sit up, but could not. How could she learn to maneuver in this state? This was beyond frustrating. She did not like being like this. She liked to be able to move around freely. She closed her eyes and tried to visualize moving toward the chair. Nothing. She hovered over the bed, wanting to scream. Why was nothing working? She shook her head. Move already, she told herself. She forced herself to move. Slowly, she managed to get herself in an upright position. She had done it. She hovered over the chair and pretended to be seated. She looked at the fireplace. What was Armbruster up to? Where was that worthless girl, Ariana, and why did she not come right back after Armbruster left? She could only assume that Ariana was thinking about when Armbruster claimed to be sleeping in her chamber. Alexis wanted to laugh. Down the hall, Ariana walked slowly towards her chamber. She was completely taken back by the fact Armbruster was in the queen's room. How was that even possible? They had stopped being together after Lila was conceived. Since then, they lived separate lives. Maybe they were back together again. Wait. Something occurred to her. Why had Alexis not spoken when she knocked on the door? Why was it Armbruster that replied, and there was no sound from her whatsoever? There was something very wrong. Alexis would never have allowed it. She would have said something to Ariana. Alexis would not have given Armbruster permission to speak on her behalf. Ariana turned around and ran back to the queen's chamber. Oh, where was I? Oh, yeah, sorry. When she approached the door, she gently knocked 3 times. She waited for Armbruster to yell. There was no response. She knocked loudly 1 more time and announced her presence. Your Majesty, this is Ariana. May I enter? Enter, you silly girl. Ariana turned the handle only to find it was locked. It's locked. Could you please unlock it? Armbruster locked it on his way out. Why don't you cast a spell and unlock it? Gosh, stop being so useless, responded Alexis. Yes, Alexis. Ariana raised her scepter, enchanted. She could hear the lock make a clicking noise. She turned the handle and opened the door. Before she could open the door all the way, Alexis yelled at her. Wait! Before you enter, I have something to tell you. Please, don't be afraid. Why should I be afraid, Your Majesty? May I enter? Only if you promise not to scream. Okay, you're scaring me. She gently pushed the door open the rest of the way. She turned around and closed the door behind her, then turned to face her. She stared straight ahead. What she saw utterly confused her. She shook her head and backed up. What is that? She wondered. I do not understand, said Ariana in a whisper, quiet tone, eyes large in disbelief. Yeah, thank Yarlin for this one. I believe to use a return spell on me, also known as the dreaded ghosting spell. Stop staring at me. For goodness sakes, I'm not dead. I'm just, sort of not here. Yeah, I'm here in mind and spirit. Get it, spirit? She started laughing, thinking she was very funny. She looked at Ariana. She looked scared and far from amused. This is not funny, Alexis. Can it be reversed? I thought the ghosting spell or the return spell was permanent. Tell me it's not. This is awful. Ariana's eyes welled up with tears. She looked away. Her friend, the queen, a dreaded ghost-like figure. This was awful. Stop it, silly girl. It would be fine. I know there are spells that can reverse it. The question is, can the idiot find it in time? What do you mean by in time? Well, most of the time the ghosting spell has to be reversed in 2 earthly days or it will become permanent. Yarlin better hurry up. Quite a lot of time has already passed and the clock is ticking, so to speak. Are you serious? Screamed Ariana in distraught. Calm down. Yes, I'm very serious. Well then, what's keeping us from reversing it? Maybe he wants you to stay this way. Maybe Armbruster likes his new ghostly wife. Have you ever thought about that? Okay, you seriously need to relax a bit. Armbruster does not want the mother of his child or his wife to be a ghost. What kind of life would that be? Also, once we find our precious daughter, I need to raise her properly. Armbruster knows all this too well. He's not crazy. Sometimes he's a bit impulsive, but never would he harm me. This I know for sure. Okay, if you say so, my queen. Ariana walked closer to her. May I touch you? Why? Curiosity. Oh gosh, whatever. She extended her hand towards Ariana. Ariana touched her gently. Her hand felt like sharp, ice cold. She impulsively pulled back her hand from the pain. Wow, that hurt. You're so cold. Does it hurt? Listen up. Enough of this already. Yes, I feel cold. Yes, it's not fun. Yes, I hate it. Let's move on. We have more pressing matters to attend to. I need to go to Tula Mountain and find Florenza. She will help you figure out a way to reverse this thing. I do not want to leave it up to Yarlin. He may be good, but he's very old and very, very slow. I do not have that kind of time. Time is definitely not on my side. I will go see her immediately. I will return as quickly as can. Is there anything I can do for you in the meantime? Not unless you know how to give me back my body, whispered Alexis to herself. Did you say something, my queen? Yes, hurry up, lazy girl. Get moving. Ariana bowed her head and walked out the chamber. She ran from her room, gathered her bag, and once she entered her room, she walked to the shelf and pulled down a bag from the rickety bookshelf by the door. She proceeded to fill it with items she thought would be useful for trade. Witches always expected something in exchange for something. Nothing was free. Confidently, she left the room and walked down the corridor towards the landing pad. There, she asked the keeper to retrieve her Tauren. Once on her Tauren, she steered it towards Tula Mountain. She loved to fly. She loved the feeling of the brisk air in her hair, as well as the view from above, looking down on the village below. Huts of commoners lined the river bank. The wealthier commoners were fortunate to own many compounds comprised of several huts, sitting side by side. She looked at the twin moons. The moons, a bright, whitish gray at night, turned to a peak through the clouds. Unlike Earth, there was no sun. The days defined by the color of the moons. During the day, they were a bright teal color. She could have used magic to teleport herself to Tula Mountain. However, she enjoyed her flying time. Flying gave her time to think. She had a lot to think about, and she wanted to clear her head before she had to face Florenza. So now we know that Alexis is a ghostly figure, and obviously Yarlin had the intention to turn her into this. The question is time going to run out, or is she actually going to be able to change back in time? And is Ariana going to be able to bargain with Florenza to help her get what she needs to reverse the spell? Well, you'll have to come back next week for Chapter 9 to find out more. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you have a good rest of the week. And don't forget that the drawing is going to end in a couple of days, and we're going to announce the winner of the cash prize giveaway. So have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.